So you wanna get married, huh? Someone to build a life with, cook your meals, raise a family, warm your bed to get that lover's comfort perk? Well, because life in Skyrim is cold and harsh, courting and getting married is actually super easy, barely an inconvenience. Simply help out someone in need and then slap an amulet of Mara around your neck, and then the next thing you know, boom, you're reciting your vows before the goddess of marriage, Mara. But getting married is kind of a big deal, especially since divorce hasn't been invented yet. Legal divorce, at least. And with 67 potential spouses to choose from in-game, the choice can be a bit overwhelming. But have no fear, because House Telvanni has stepped in to be of service. Hello, my fellow hirelings of House Telvanni. I'm Neloth, and today I am going to be your designated matchmaker and help you decide by ranking every single potential wife in the game. Since there are 67 spouses to choose from, 37 husbands and 30 wives, I will be splitting this into 2 separate videos. Starting with the women because I love views and money. Before I begin, I do want to state that this is solely my opinion and everyone has different interests when it comes to their partners. For example, I may think Sabrina Carpenter is hotter than Red Mountain itself, but some might disagree, and that's okay. If you agree or disagree with my list, be sure to tell me why down below and I may or may not read it. That's a gamble for you to make. So, with all that being said, let the Skyrim rendition of The Bachelor begin. Coming in at dead last in 30th place, the woman who I believe is the worst wife in Skyrim, and that is Njada Stonearm. A Nord who's a member of the Companions and has absolutely no respect for the player character. Even when you reach the rank of Harbinger, the highest rank who's an advisor to the rest of the Companions, she will still remain unimpressed by you. Even mocking you by asking what guidance could you possibly offer her. Which is ironic since as the Dragonborn we have defeated Alduin, who in the Nordic pantheon is a fucking god, so I'd say we have a little bit of wisdom to share. Some of the other companions, like Vilkas, will be rude as well, but will eventually warm up to you once you prove yourself. But you will never be able to prove yourself to Njada. In fact, this begs the question, why can you even marry her in the first place? On top of this, she would probably end up being a horrible parent if you have adopted children, so I would highly recommend avoiding her or sacrificing her to Boethia. Either will do. Snooping into 29th place is Viola Giordano, an elderly imperial woman in Windhelm that becomes annoyingly obsessed with trying to find information on the Butcher, your local Windhelm serial killer. Now, while she does have good intentions, she's often quite stupid, thinking about how the snow falls is linked to the serial killer, or believing that dark elves don't ever sleep at night. She is also deeply affectionate towards another man, Captain Lonelygale, who is uninterested in her. So even though you can marry her, she also has feelings towards someone else. And also, she's just really old. Now, unless you're playing an elderly character who loves dumb conspiracy theories, you will likely pass on her without a second thought in the world. The only good thing about Viola is that she does have a really nice house. Before moving on, I got a letter from the courier that I should probably read. Well, would you look at that? That's right, Telvanni. This video is sponsored by Project Orochi, baby! You ever get frustrated with how lots of clothes with gaming stuff often looks lame and made of cheap fabric? Well, that's where Project Orochi comes in, a streetwear brand inspired by Japanese art that has made comfortable clothing with designs inspired by Ghosts of Tsushima, Dark Souls, and now Skyrim. Just look at this t-shirt showing a mural of the Nordic interpretation of Akatosh. Or my favorite, this hoodie of Dwemer design which looks absolutely sick. And they feature far more themes than just Skyrim. One of my personal favorites is this Elden Ring Erd Tree hoodie which kinda reminds me of the Falinesti tree from Valenwood. This Lake Tree shirt is also really beautiful. I'll be leaving a link down below to their shop, Instagram, and Discord pages so you could snatch one of these for yourself and keep yourself up to date on future releases. And be sure to use my promo code NELOTH to get 10% off the entire order. Shipping is free in North America, and a big thank you to Project Orochi for being my first sponsor ever on this channel. Next, we have 3 women in one. Anwen, Orla, and Senna, all of whom are priestesses of Dibella. The biggest problem with these women mostly lies in the fact that they are exceptionally boring and have almost no unique dialogue or any personality. And while they are all fairly pretty, there is just one problem. Their robes have hoods that can never be taken off, so you can never truly see their faces and what they really look like. For all I know, all 3 of these women are balding. In some cases, when you marry these women, a bug will occur where they will remain at the temple and refuse to move in with you. So while I respect their devotion to Dibella, why the fuck did you even marry me? Speaking of Dibella, the last reason I think these women are poor contenders for marriage is because I feel they are needed more at the temple, especially to aid the new Sibyl of Dibella, Fjorda, in her duties. So, unless you're a character that is a big devotee of Dibella and wants to learn the sensual Dibellan arts like belly dancing, I'd focus on finding a girl with some more personality. For the sake of continuity though, Orla is in 28th place, Anwen in 27th, and Senna is in 26th place. Hugging her way into 25th place is Temba Wide-Arm, a Nord lumberjack that owns the sawmill in Iverstead. However, Temba's lumber business is going under due to the fact that bears keep scratching the trees in the surrounding areas, lowering the quality and value of her timber. Because of this, she is always angry and will never ever shut up about the bears, believing they are out to get her. This makes her not the most pleasant woman, not the most unpleasant mind you, but you will have to watch what you say around her. She is also not the best boss, looking down on her apprentice Gwilyn for not following instructions, but the reality is that she simply doesn't give the clearest instructions, which leads to Gwilyn's errors. Temba also offers a miscellaneous quest to collect 10 bear pelts, which can be difficult and tedious at lower levels, and the reward is just really shit, just a garbage-leveled war axe. So, unless you hate bears, want the American dream of having an angry wife, or a kink for women with failing businesses, best to leave her be. Raging into 24th place is Uthgerd the Unbroken, a Nord warrior that spends most of her days lazing about at the Bannered Mare. She has quite a fiery temper, overly confident in her abilities, and she holds a deep grudge against the companions, calling them pathetic cowards. When she tried to join them, she was paired with a young kid barely able to grow facial hair, and she got so pissed because they thought that she wasn't strong enough to go against anyone else. During her spar, she got so pissed off that she accidentally killed the kid, and so the companions rejected her, calling her too hot-headed. And they aren't exactly wrong, so unless you want a fiery middle-aged woman, I'd move on. Plodding into 23rd place is Muiri, a Breton living in Markarth and working as an apprentice alchemist to Bothella. The problem with Muiri is that she has a complicated past and has made some dark decisions. She used to live in Windhelm and was good friends with the Shattershield family. However, she eventually met a man named Aela du Huntress and the two fell in love. At least, that's what Muiri thought, until Aela used her to get close to the Shattershields so he could rob them blind. Even though Muiri was deceived, the Shattershields believed she was also involved in the robbery and cast her out, likely branding her as a criminal in Windhelm. If you join the Dark Brotherhood, she will have you kill not only Aela du Huntress, but also Nilsine Shattershield as revenge for being cast out of the family. But I'll be honest, I don't really think it's appropriate to marry someone who I completed a Dark Brotherhood contract for. It would make dinner dates quite awkward since I killed her last boyfriend. She's not a good alchemist, she's got horrible taste in men, she's naive, I'm just not really a fan. Hillund is a woman you probably didn't know existed, which is why she is in 22nd place. Hillund is one of the Nords that live in the Thirsk Mead Hall on Solstheim. However, when we meet her, she is a little homeless due to her hall being invaded by Reeklings. My problem with Hillund extends to the rest of the Thirsk residents, and it's that they are all lazy and just drink all day, which is partly the reason why they were kicked out by some blue goblin freaks. We even see Hillund's laziness on display when we take Thirsk back, as she will say that she's gonna take revenge on the Reeklings, but comes up with every excuse not to go out. I'm just warming up, my blade needs sharpening, I just want one more mug of mead, shut up. Besides, siding with the Reeklings is way more fun, since they won't ever betray you like Hillund's sister Buyold would. Smithing her way into 21st place is Ghorza gra-Bagol. Ghorza is a blacksmith like her brother Moth, living in Markarth. Ghorza was once part of an orc stronghold, but left to make her own way as she didn't want to be the third wife of some lowly chieftain, but now has a lowly apprentice that she despises. She's not the best teacher, constantly yelling at her apprentice Tacitus, but unlike Temba and Gwilyn, Tacitus is a genuine fuck-up that can only craft nails. And if you marry Ghorza, then her little fuck-up becomes Markarth's new blacksmith, and while his dialogue is funny, he will be a detriment to Markarth's economy. There is also another orc that I think is more suitable for marriage and just a little bit better looking. I'm a big believer in the idea that looks aren't everything, but that philosophy only extends so far, and Ghorza is probably the ugliest potential spouse in the game. Now I'm going to be pairing 3 more women together, and they are the Housecarls you earn when becoming the Thane of Riften, Falkreath, and Solitude. They are Iona, Raya, and Jordis the Sword Maiden. Now, unfortunately, all of the Housecarls are pretty much identical and have zero personality whatsoever, which is why they aren't ranked so high. I also wouldn't recommend marrying them because who will then look after your houses? I always like having at least one individual roaming around my home to make it feel much more lively, which is why, as a rule, I don't marry my Housecarls. Iona comes in 20th place for being generic, Raya in 19th place because she's the only other Redguard you can marry excluding Onwin, and Jordis in 18th place because honestly she's really fucking hot, but again, no personality. You may have noticed a certain someone is not grouped with these Housecarls, but we will cover her soon. Sprouting into 17th place is Avrusa Sarethi, a dark elf farmer and alchemist who works on a farm all day and is supposedly the only person alive who can actually grow Nirnroot from a seed to a fully grown plant. She works the land with her carefree sister Aduri and used to house the renowned alchemist Sindarian until he got himself killed by Falmer like a fucking idiot. She will come off as a little standoffish, but that is simply because of the unending amount of work that she has to deal with. But with your help, she will be a little less standoffish. Sit-on-ish? Never mind. She isn't the prettiest woman on this list, but hey, she does have one of the more unique pieces of property with all that Nirnroot growing. And all of those potions and ingredients downstairs are yours for the taking. There are better bachelorettes, but I do feel that Suvaris is overlooked and perfect for someone who's making a full-on alchemist build. Aeri is a Nord lumberjack that runs Anga's Mill that is also in 16th place. Not really much to say about her, but she does seem to run a successful lumber business, so if you're attracted to a woman with a good business on her hands, you're in luck. But there is another lumberjack that I simply like more. Chopping her way into 15th place is Gilfre, an Imperial lumberjack that runs Mixwater Mill, and is the only one there since all of the men ran off to join the war, even leaving some of their gold behind. What a bunch of fucking idiots. There is also not much to say about Gilfre, but I think she's better than Aeri for a few reasons. The first is that we can see her whole head, unlike Aeri who wears a hood. And the second is that her mill is falling apart since she's the only one there. So if you're gonna have a wife that will abandon her previous life and move in with you, Gilfre might as well be it. And the third reason is that there was a series I loved as a kid called Rags to Riches, and the character of that series, Olaf, married Gilfre. so she will always have a special place in my heart. Weaving her way into 14th place is Dravynea the Stoneweaver, a dark elf mage living in Kynes Grove and using her magic to help the local mine run smoothly. Dravynea is a dedicated worker that is also extremely knowledgeable in alteration magic and can train you in it up to level 75, which can be pretty handy depending on who you are. What's interesting about her is that Dravynea used to live in Morwen, possibly before the Red Years, since she talks about how it used to be a lovely place, meaning she is possibly over 200 years old. But as an elven mage, she's just middle-aged. I admire Dravynea and her hard work, which is why she's ranked so high, but even then I wouldn't recommend marrying her, because not only is she needed more to help run the mine rather than your kitchen and a random store, but she also wears a hooded robe, meaning we can't see her actual face, another potential spouse that could possibly be bald. Outfitting her way into 13th place is Taarie, the only high elf in the game that can be married. She is a tailor that runs a clothing store called Radiant Raiment, a store that is also quite successful. At first, she might come off as a bit rude, but a lot of her dialogue shows that she's quite nice, for a high elf at least. And as far as I can tell, she is one of the richest women we can marry, so if you're someone all about marrying for financial gain like many nobles do, she's your best bet. She is also the only wife that uses the haughty voice type, making her doubly unique. Charging her way into 12th place is Borgakh the Steelheart, an orcish warrior that belongs to the Morkazgor clan. Borgakh is a woman, obviously, but as a female, she is destined to be nothing more than the wife of another chieftain, and like Ghorza, she wants to do more with her life. And you are able to convince her to go on adventures with you, maybe slay a dragon or two, and then do a 180 and ask her to marry, something she was originally running away from. Now, that might sound messed up, but at least she's choosing who she marries instead of being forced to. And she still gets to be her own woman and carve out her own life as both a warrior and merchant. If you're playing an orc character that wants to make his own little pseudo-orc stronghold, then I would say Borgakh is the best choice for a wife. And she's also the best looking orcish wife, though that's not saying much since the only other one is Ghorza. Painting her way into 11th place is dear Jenassa, a dark elf mercenary that relaxes at the Drunken Huntsman, awaiting a patron to pay for her services. She is a very interesting character, as she doesn't consider herself a mere mercenary, but an artist and painter, with her sword as her brush and blood as her paint. She also claims to know nothing of fear and remorse. I like Jenassa, however, I feel that she is far more suited to darker, more evil assassin-like characters that are obsessed with death. Although perhaps not too evil, as Jenassa can't be turned into a vampire like some spouses if you choose to side with Clan Volkihar. Additionally, she doesn't have any unique dialogue for the homes you build in the Hearthfire DLC. I personally prefer less bloodthirsty women, but if you want a woman who can teach your adopted kids to paint, then this is the woman for you. This will probably be the most controversial one, but howling into 10th place is Aela the Huntress. Aela is an elite member of the warrior guild known as the Companions, and part of the inner circle known as, well, the Circle, which consists of werewolves. That's right, to the surprise of absolutely fucking no one, Aela is a werewolf, which I feel is a major downside. Think about when you are a werewolf. Guards will comment on it, saying there is fur coming out of your ears or that you smell like a wet dog. That would also apply to Aela. Sure, in the game with her revealing armor, she doesn't have much body hair, but lore-wise, she probably has as much as a mammoth, and maybe smells like a falmer too. Besides, as a werewolf, you never know when she could transform. It could happen in a city, in front of your kids, or even when you're in your bedroom doing things. Now, to be fair, she isn't all bad, especially since she's placed this highly on the list. She is a phenomenal warrior and hunter, well respected given her position, and one of the most storied and unique women on this list. She also isn't too bad on the eyes either, but since she's a werewolf obsessed with Hircine and the hunt, I simply would rather marry someone more tame. I also don't want her turning my kids into little werewolves either. But if you're a furry, go right ahead. Fighting her way into 9th place is Rhea. Rhea is an Imperial warrior that is the newest member of the Companions and not a werewolf. Ever since she was a little girl, she always dreamed of joining the Companions, and now she has, being tutored by Vilkas. Rhea is one of the nicer companions and will be relatively polite to you from the beginning to the end of the Companions' storyline. Now, I'll admit I'm quite biased here as I'm currently playing Skyrim as an Imperial Moth Priest warrior that married Rhea due to the fact that she's also an Imperial warrior. But I also do enjoy her spirit and vigor, and also the fact that she is new to the guild just like you, giving you two quite a lot to bond over. In 8th place is Morwen, a Nord woman many of you probably don't know of as she lives in Skal village in Solstheim. Unlike the other members of the village, Morwen didn't always live among the Skal, as she was born in Falkreath. She was once a soldier, then a mercenary, but eventually returned to the home of her mother and was truly happy staying there. Morwen is unique for a number of reasons, being a Skal, being able to live in Severin Manor, but also she has marriage dialogue that is unique to her character, something no other spouse in the game has. She mentions how her heartbeat skips when you walk by, and that she misses Skyrim when you are around. I think Morwen is one of the more unique spouses, and I think it would be cool to have a wife that can teach your adopted children the way of the Skal. Besides, marrying her allows you to technically own a house in Skal Village, which is perfect if you're role-playing a Skal character or druid character. And to marry her, you will have to bring her mother's necklace to Runil, one of my favorite minor characters in all of Skyrim. In 7th place is the brainless, the dangerous Lydia. Lydia is a Nord Housecarl of Whiterun and quite possibly one of the first followers you will ever acquire. While she doesn't have much going on similar to the other Housecarls, she does have unique dialogue added in the Dragonborn DLC that will trigger when you encounter various foes and locales, making her more unique among the Housecarls. And I mean, come on, it's Lydia! Everyone's had adventures and experiences with her, enough to make us bond with her and maybe even fall in love. I mean, look at those lifeless eyes. The only reason not to marry her is that Bree's home would likely become very empty without her thoughtless presence if you move to a better home. Coming in affectionately into 6th place is Camilla Valerius. Camilla lives in Riverwood, the first town we will likely visit, and helps out her brother Lucan Valerius in running his general goods store. Originally from Cyrodiil, she moved in with her brother as Cyrodiil had become increasingly more and more inhospitable. Her life is quite nice, especially since she is involved in a love triangle where two men, Sven and Feindal, both vie for her affections. However, if you listen to dialogue between her and Hod, Camilla will reveal that she is fully aware of their affections and keeps egging them on as she loves the attention. Now, even though she likes playing with the feelings of men like Mafala, she does indicate that she wants to find a good husband and start a family of her own. So why not start a family with her? After all, marrying her allows you to use the Riverwood Trader like it's your own home, and since she's willing to start a family, she would be perfect if you have adopted kids. Just be sure to send Feindal and Sven to somewhere like the Blades or Boethia, as sometimes they will be inside your home talking to Camilla, even if you're living in Solitude or Windhelm. Casting her way into 5th place is Brelyna Maryon, a dark elf that is part of the College of Winterhold and, better yet, a member of the Great House Telvanni, just like yours truly. She wishes to study conjuration magic in peace, but because she is a Telvanni, her parents have put a great deal of pressure on her to succeed. They even reserved a spot for her in the college on the day she was born. And just like a true Telvanni, she has a quest where she performs strange experiments on you, turning you into a variety of different animals, which is always entertaining to witness. While quite stressed, she is actually really nice, and when we help her, she will thank us and call us a true friend. But unlike Serana, we can easily break that friend zone. While she isn't the greatest wizard, being a mere apprentice and not owning much of anything in Skyrim, her parents are probably quite high in standing and rank within House Telvanni, judging by how they were able to get her membership so early. Meaning, if we marry Brelyna, we could potentially be marrying into Telvanni royalty, which is just a dream come true for a Telvanni simp like myself. And if we as the player have the sexy Master Neloth on our side, we have a good foothold to one day climb the ranks and maybe become Archmagister of House Telvanni. Unless Neloth becomes Archmagister, of course, because then we will pamper him and make sure he stays on top. I'd rank Brelyna number 1, but I just dislike that her default outfit means that she wears a hood and hides her face. Yes, we can give her a different outfit as our follower, but if you dismiss her, she will go back to wearing her same apprentice robes. Happily coming into 4th place is Shahvee, an Argonian that works on the docks in Windhelm. If you know about Shahvee, you're probably not surprised to see her so high on this list. She is not only the kindest and happiest Argonian in the game, but she is also the happiest individual in all of Skyrim. Shahvee has not been dealt the best hand when it comes to her circumstances in life. But she always looks on the positive side because she believes that being happy or unhappy is a choice that you make, and she wants to make the best with what she can. Shahvee used to be a thief once upon a time, but became a devout follower of the divine Zenithar, the god of wealth and commerce, to give her people good fortune. If we help bring her amulet of Zenithar back that was stolen from bandits, which you should, we have the option of marrying her and giving her a new and better life, allowing us to reward her for her kindness. Not only is she so very sweet, but she is also the only female Argonian that we can marry, making her doubly unique. Bargaining her way into 3rd place is Ysolda, a Nord woman living in Whiterun. Ysolda is a woman that wants to be a merchant and learn the trade, which is why she spends most of her time at the market stalls. Her goal is to one day buy the bannered mare from Hulda and run it herself. However, she also says that she wants to be a caravaneer as well, so maybe she wants to diversify her portfolio. She also isn't prejudiced about who she does business with, as she willingly does business with the Khajiit caravans and even asks for their aid in teaching her more about the trading business. However, that isn't all Ysolda does, as she harbors a dark secret. Well, not too dark like Muiri, but she is willing to buy and sell narcotics like sleeping tree sap, making her a devious little smuggler. I really like Ysolda, and I think she is perfect if you're a character that is willing to join the Thieves Guild or just a Khajiit, since she has sympathy towards them. There are a few problems, however. The first is that there is a quest called A Night to Remember, where you have drinks with Sanguine and go on a drunken tear through Skyrim. You even talk to Ysolda about how you're getting married to another woman, and she loans a golden wedding ring to you. The awkward part is that this dialogue about marriage triggers even if you are already married to Ysolda, which just makes things rather weird. Besides, even if you aren't married yet, I'm not sure why Ysolda would even want to marry someone who she believes engagement fell through, or believes is still getting married to a lovely woman that definitely isn't a hag raven. And if that wasn't bad enough, Ysolda also has a crush on Mikael the Bard, and is probably one of the reasons why Ysolda wants to buy the bannered mare to begin with, so that he would finally notice her. I'll be honest, I really like Ysolda. She's kind and patient and a perfect wife, since her goals of becoming a merchant line up perfectly with the fact that being a spouse involves opening their own shop. But it also feels like the writing of the game did not believe you could marry Ysolda in the first place, since there are quite a few obstacles in your way. While you can easily overcome such obstacles by giving her a mammoth tusk, I can't declare her number 1 in good conscience. Cracking her way into second place is Sygja, a Nord miner living in Shore Stone. Sygja is not only very pretty and kind, but also a very tough miner, being able to crack rocks with the best of them despite her injury. See, at one point, Sygja took a bad fall in the mine delivering food to the other miners, which is just another duty she has on top of mining, and was doing pretty bad for a while until a priest of Mara named Arander aided her. Not only is Sygja linked to one of my favorite followers, Arander, but she also has family that founded the mine in Darkwater Crossing. Her father, Werner Rockchucker, and mother, Annika Cragjumper. Not only can we deliver Sylgja's letters to her parents, but we can even help her parents too, helping her father mine ore and her mother clear a bandit camp. We can also have Annika as our follower afterwards, which is interesting because if we marry Sygja, we can go on adventures with our new mother-in-law, even bringing her to visit her daughter, though there is no unique dialogue. Sygja also owns her own house, and her parents basically run Darkwater Crossing, meaning we kinda get to inherit a whole mine, which is pretty cool. And all you gotta do to marry her is be a good mailman, just try not to get shot in the head. While Sygja is one of my favorite wives in the entire game, there is one more person that is a bit more unique and capable. And finally, we have the woman who I believe is the greatest wife in Skyrim. A woman who is fiercely dedicated to adventure and all things good and just. And that woman is Mjol the Lioness. Mjol the Lioness is a Nord warrior that lives in Riften with her friend and savior Eren. She is an extremely kind and protective individual with a desire to help anyone she possibly can. Which is why she is on a mission to protect the townsfolk of Riften and shield them from both the Thieves Guild and the Blackbriar family. She's not the best at her job, as the Thieves Guild still harasses Riften extensively, especially when we as the player join up. But many of the citizens recount moments where Mjol has stood up for them, running off members of the guild. And I'll be honest, the guild is probably afraid of her, since they never do anything to her in retaliation, demonstrating her prowess as a warrior and intimidating presence. Before she came to Riften, she used to be an adventurer that traveled all across Tamriel, from High Rock to Valenwood, elsewhere to Morrowind, and all points in between. However, when she entered the Dwemer ruin Mazinshaleft, she was ambushed by a dwarven Kenturian, where she lost her glass greatsword Grimsever and barely escaped alive. But Eren found her outside the ruin and brought her back to Riften, where he nursed her back to health. He told her about all of the problems in Riften, and Mjol felt that becoming Riften's protector was her new calling. One of the most interesting things about Mjol is that even though she wandered and fought evil all over Tamriel, she never traded her skills with a blade for money, never becoming a sellsword. Unlike us, right? Mjol is charitable, virtuous, strong, caring, determined, and so much more. Which I feel are all virtues that not only make for an excellent wife, but also an incredible mother, probably better than any on the list. The only downside to marrying Mjol is that Eren will still follow Mjol everywhere like a Twitch moderator. Luckily, Mjol always speaks of Eren being a dear friend, basically friend-zoning him, so it's not like we have to worry about getting cucked. If anything, we're doing the cucking. In all seriousness, some may find Eren to be annoying, but as I said with the Housecarls, I like having lots of people in my house as it feels more lively, so I don't really find Eren to be much of a problem. Even if you are playing an evil character, marrying Mjol still might be a good idea since you can move her away from Riften so she can't protect the people, and you can turn her into a vampire with Clan Volkihar. Basically, Mjol is great no matter who you are, a benevolent paladin with kids to a vampire assassin that wants to drown the world in darkness. Mjol is your lioness. And that is all I wrote. A video where I ranked every single wife in Skyrim. This was a bigger endeavor than I originally anticipated, and the ranking was quite difficult, especially when I got to the top 10, because I really feel like they're all great candidates. This video is just my opinion, and obviously not everyone is going to agree with me, but I hope I gave you some insight the next time you get married on your preferred spouse, or even a different spouse if you're trying to change things up in your newest Skyrim playthrough. If this video does well, then I will be sure to make a sequel ranking the various husbands of Skyrim. Before I go, I want to give a big shout out to my channel members, and those members are Mirak, Sovdark, Conarunda, Will Ernst, The Proud Prince, Skooma Addict, JJ Ensid, Grud, Batman Man, Deadpool Maoista, Ranger McKay, Dova 2023, Partheon, Milani Stilla, David Correa, Carson Friday, Abdullah the Goat, NCC 2614, and Luxie. And if you would like to see my videos earlier by either 24 hours or even 3 days, then consider becoming a member. All members get early access, and Oathman and Mouths will get shoutouts at the beginning or end of almost every video. And also a big thank you to Project Orochi for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check the links down below if you are interested in some sick Skyrim clothes or just quality and stylish Japanese streetwear. So with all that being said, make sure to like the like button, like the subscribe button, and like the bell notification down below to be updated on future videos. And I will see you whenever the fuck I decide to upload again. House Telvanni be with you.
Please, O hero of Skyrim, I shall be ever so grateful.